Welcome to Labor Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Abrantes, Assistant Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, the Carpenters Union.
And I'm Cyndie Williams, Executive Director of the CCT. Together as your co-hosts, we'll explore the world of organized labor, bringing you behind-the-scenes stories and insights from inspiring union leaders, dedicated partners, and community change makers. In each episode, we dive into authentic conversation to uncover what unions are really about beyond the headlines and the myths.
Whether you're new to the movement or a union ally, our conversation, showcasing diverse voices and real-life stories, will explore union hurdles, triumphs, labor's rich history, its role in workforce development, all while shedding light on how unions create lasting change and foster economic growth and creating generational wealth.
Join us as we build a broader coalition, elevate future generations, and showcase how unions contribute to creating a positive cultural legacy.
Tune in, get informed, and find out how organized labor is making a difference. Today, our guest is Dr. Elliot Washer, co-founder of Big Picture Learning and the Met Center in Providence, Rhode Island. Dr. Washer has spent more than 50 years at the forefront of education reform, working across K through 12 and higher education as a teacher, principal, and innovator. His work focuses on reimagining how students learn through real-world experiences, community connections, and student-centered design. Through Big Picture Learning, he has helped build a model that connects students to internships, mentorships, and learning beyond the traditional classroom, with particular focus on serving those in communities furthest from the opportunity. His work has been recognized by organizations including the Ford Foundation, the Harvard Kennedy School, and he was named the Daring Dozen Educator by the George Lucas Educational Foundation. He is also the co-author of Leaving to Learn, How Out-of-School Learning Increases Student Engagement and Reduces Dropout Rate. Dr. Washer, it's great to have you.
Great to be here. Glad to be
Such a pleasure to have you on.
All right. Absolutely. I'm great to be here working with you all.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to start working on some great things together. And I think there's probably a lot we're going to end up discussing today that I think is going to be really resonating with the folks that are going to be listening. So you spent more than 5 decades rethinking what education can look like. What first motivated you to challenge traditional models of schooling? And how did you lead to creation of Big Picture Learning?
There were many things. Even when I was a little kid and growing up in Brooklyn, I realized that something wasn't right in school in terms of fairness and what we would call justice. So, and I had a loud mouth or a loud voice, and I would always speak up and say, that's not fair. That's not right. I was in the principal's office quite a bit. We knew each other quite well. And I'd say, why?
They saved your seat for you.
You're right. And so I figured out a long time ago that young people like myself who were really good and smart in ways that schools didn't honor were getting the short end of the stick, so to speak. And I was always a young person, and through my college days and all the way through, promoted hands-on learning. Most of my friends didn't go to college. They were in the skilled trades. As a matter of fact, when I got out of college and couldn't find work, they hired me. It was the exact opposite.
Which is still happening today.
Yep.
Which is still happening today. And people think that this is new, but it's not. And I was fortunate enough to grow up in a place where I was, if you're really good with your hands, you're good with your head. And that's the problem. People don't realize that we are beings that these hands give us inputs and outputs all the time, and they're directly connected to our minds and brains. And so Aristotle knew it, and Plato kind of didn't. He went, it's all up here. Mm-hmm. And Aristotle said, no, it's within the whole body. And we still have, and we cut off our hands from our heads in schools about 50 years ago. And that was a giant mistake. And so I was in a voc ed programs while I was in high school, and they were amazing, and the students were amazing, but the schools didn't honor us. And so that's why I'm doing this work, continuously elevating the trades and working with your hands.
Yeah, and that segues right into the next question. Big Picture Learning emphasizes real-world, work-based learning experiences, hands-on. From a forced perspective, what do schools often miss about preparing students for actual jobs?
Well, they miss a great deal, and the outcome data shows that. And it's not just about the data, it's how you interpret it. So at best, if you get a certification in high school and you go on to community college or college, these are the post-secondary options, not just out to work. The best results in the 14, 16 pathways that are federally acknowledged, 20% completion rate from high school out to work. What's the matter? Well, growing up where I grew up and looking at the data that I look at, you learn through the relationship. You learn through the situated learning. Yes, you get a certification, they dress you up, but you don't have relationships. You don't have experience out in the field, wherever that field is. And in this case, in the skilled trades, it's outside work. You have to, like the cold, like the heat, like the rain, and enjoy the work that it's meaningful to you and it's meaningful to your community. So those pieces are missing in schools. You call it internships, call it real world learning, calling it learning through a relationship where somebody's going, look, I don't care what the book says. You got to turn a screw back a quarter turn. All right. We're out here now. This is what it's like. And book instruction only take you so far. And then you got to know the rules of the road. You got to know how to work with people. You got to problem solve on the job. You got to not make mistakes. And if you make them, you got to learn from them. Schools can only go so far. Inside of a classroom can only go so far. 30 kids in a room with a teacher can only go so far. One-on-one, small group, outside, that kind of instruction is invaluable and valuable, very valuable. And that's what we did at Big Picture. So at our schools, 2 days a week, our students are out starting in the 9th grade, connected to adults around their interests. And that deepens their desire to go back into school and to earn their certifications, diplomas, and degrees. But it also says, hey, this is where it's at. I can't miss that connection. Social scientists and educators use fancy words. They call it social capital. In Brooklyn, we call it, I know a guy.
I know a guy.
And that's really what it is.
Yep.
And it could be a guy, a woman, but somebody who knows you, who says, you know what, this person is committed to this work. They like doing it. I like them. They like me. And I can work with them. And the more people you have in your life like that, the better off you're going to be. Longitudinal studies show this. Having healthy relationships in your life is key to leading a meaningful life. And yet schools don't pay attention to that data. We have longitudinal study evidence around that. Healthy relationships at work, at home, in your community keep you alive and thriving. And this work in the skilled trades and the unions provide that. We just got to get the young people there, as we've been talking about, sooner rather than later. They're ready. Sometimes adults push out that limit of where students and young people should join up and join in. And we've been saying, no, they are young men and women at 18 years old. Don't treat them like babies.
Sure.
If you do, you're going to get that result. And if you treat people like adults and colleagues and people who want to learn, very, very different.
Yeah. So basically, since you were in high school, in reality, just say the last 50 years, things really haven't changed. In fact, they probably regressed in many cases.
Absolutely.
And, we most recently, Big Picture Learning, in partnership with the Carpenters, was fortunate enough to get a significant grant, $18 million from Bloomberg Philanthropies. How do you think we can use those resources to really address what's in the issue and kind of what you guys have been doing this whole time?
Right. Well, so just like what I was saying before, this is an extra piece to the equation that we can't deliver on. Educators cannot deliver actual jobs.
Yep.
we've been waiting for you. You've been waiting for us.
Sure.
But now there's really work.
Yep.
So as students are getting their certifications and they're working and engaged inside of school and getting outside of school situated learning relationships that are going to last, they're also developing those components that allow them to thrive. So this is really, really important that we found you found us, but it was in actually doing the work in Newark that we co-developed a program. And I'll say this, and it's after 50 years, it's true. The educators know a great deal, but nobody really listens to us.
Right.
There's a difference when we have a partner like the union who goes, you know what, we can offer the work. And I'm going, well, this is really different. This is really, really different. So this program is a pipeline for young people who are raising their hand, expressing an interest in this meaningful work to them. And they're learning, does it make sense to me? Does it not? Because we're going to have a pipeline starting in the 8th and 9th grade. And then we're going to take them through. This is really, really different. Take them through to a place where there's actual work guaranteed if they stay in. And that's a beautiful thing.
Career at that, right? So just to touch a little bit more about the grant, it operates in the state of New Jersey.
Yeah.
It's for a 3-year term, right? Some of the things that people are listening want to know about what really brings this thing together. How do you connect to schools to really show the value here? Because a lot of this is conversations having for the first time where that's that workforce component that's coming into play. There's a lot of convincing that needs to happen as to, yes, it's okay to let Johnny or Susie go out and learn for half of the day, right? And connect to an opportunity that may lead to a career.
Yeah, well, informal learning and schooling happens in and outside of school. You know, basically, if I asked you, where'd you learn to read, on your grandmother's lap or in school? You may say, only on my grandmother's lap, or only in school, or both.
Mm-hmm.
So we think you need both. All right, yes, you need instruction, but you also need the relationship to sit on somebody's lap to really get involved and interested in reading because they're interested in reading. And it translates, this is who we are as human beings. We want those relationships around the things that we really want to learn how to do well. And so this offers that. And the fact that there's actual work at the end is nothing to take light of, because we can have the programs and the certification, but we can't guarantee the work. Yeah. And when a young person sees that they can do something that is meaningful to them, that they really want to do and get paid, and go to school if they want, because there's a college credit component to this, and there's work connected to it, and there's work where they get paid in the summertime connected to it. And what we hope will happen with this unbelievable grant that we got is that workforce investment boards, unions, educators, politicians will see the value in this. You don't have to add money. You have to switch the money about where it goes. And that's the key for me, at least. Yeah. That's the sustainability of this. This is going to be successful. And we know past labor practices, and I might digress here for a second, but it's really. Please. And if you look back and the labor laws, child labor laws, people think, and they were protecting children. But the truth is, a lot of the times, the kids could do the work better than the adults because they thought it was a game and their fingers were nimble. Yes, the places were dangerous and this and that, and they paid them less, and all that was wrong. But young people can work, and I'll just add one more thing. If you think that young people aren't ready, why are they getting a driver's license at 16? Because you look to the left and you look to the right on New Jersey Turnpike, and there's a person 16 years old driving next to you at 65 miles an hour. And all of a sudden they can't go into a situated learning environment.
It's funny when you think about it like that. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
rules
True.
and regulations? Yes, you need insurance. So yes, young people have, well, we can provide that as schools and as workforce investment. We just don't do it. We set up these false barriers, these artificial constructs, and they're really wrong. The young people are ready.
So big picture sets up the insurance for the young person or individual to be able to go out on a job site
Yes.
and intern with one of our signatory contractors on the job site during the summers, getting exposure.
Yes.
The level of motivation in my head for a student coming back in an exploratory phase of their high school years to be able to be on a job site, feel it, taste it, work with their hands. I can only imagine the level of motivation that brings to someone that's finishing up so that they can get to that point of entry into apprenticeship. I think it's a wonderful recipe.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at athletic programs. There's insurance for them. These programs are, you get injured. So we have insurance, but for some reason, we don't have insurance on this other side of the equation, which is so important to so many young people as well.
Yeah. I think one of the things where we fail for years is how we determine success, what that looks like, the metrics, right? It's like you graduate from high school, that's success. You found a job, that's success. I think what we've really learned through what you've done and what we're trying to accomplish with this grant is that is not necessarily success. Success is how do we put people in a position where they have a sustainable career, not just a job? How can they change their lives, their families' lives, the communities they're living in? And how can we also provide a good product to the industry? Right? Because it's a two-way street. We want people to thrive, but we also want people to be qualified so that the folks that they're working for have a great product, great skilled, productive craftspeople. And I think this model with this exposure really accomplishes all of those things because that's real success, sustainability. And I think how you guys determine metrics and analyze that and track that in a mentorship. And if you could talk about that, that'd be great because I think that's a component that we fall short on because it takes time, takes resources, takes commitment. And I think people kind of give up once someone graduates or someone gets a job and they feel like they did their part. That's not where it ends.
Not at all. I mean, we have data. We don't look at it closely enough on what it's going to tell us. So, and we need to collect data in the narratives and the stories. And that's where the meaning and the mattering is. So if you look at are people employed? Yeah, they're employed. Do they like what they do? That's a whole other story. You end up in a cubicle and you want to be outside and you want to be active and working with your hands and your whole body. Well, eventually you're going to get sick because it's, as my neurologist buddy who wrote a book called The Hand, which says you can't have good language without good tool use. You can't have good tool use without good language. And we, unfortunately, successfully in a bad way, severed that. And that creates a lot of anxiety, depression, all kinds of things in young people and in adults. Because you can have a train wreck at 35 and go, this is not who I am. Well, and you knew all along way back when. But they steered you in this other direction. And you said, no, I want to go here. And they said, no, I want you to go here because, you're going to make more money. Well, not really. And you're going to live a better life? Not really. If you look at the data in the skilled trades, home ownership, community service, meaningful lives, at the top. Why wasn't that marketed? Why was college for all marketed instead of a broad spectrum and giving people the choices that they really wanted?
I have a 7th grader and he asks me all the time, Mom, what do you think I should do when I grow up? He's at that age where they're starting to think about that. And this program that you're providing brings it all the way down to middle school and a start of middle school exposure. So, that we say all the time, we get those folks in their later 20s that have already gone out there and discovered that they didn't want this desk job. But we're trying to bring that number down to the younger ages. Tell me a little bit about the important part of the piece with middle school and high school being exposed.
Yeah, well, once again, if you spend a little time with evolutionary biologists and people. Frank, my buddy, who is in neurology, he's 87 now, and wrote the book The Hand. He would tell you by the time a child is 3 years old, they're already identifying things that they want to get better at. And they're already identifying the people that they want to learn from. I want grandpa to teach me how to tie my shoe. I want grandma to teach me how to tie my shoe. This is who we are. And schools don't allow that learning to happen. It happens by chance. It's not, the environment's not set up for that. The informal learning environment outside of school, that's how we learn. So yes, we're in middle school doing this, but it starts way, way young. Young people are manipulating stuff, and these hands are inputs and outputs. They're very sensitive. They've been around for a long, long time. And when we don't get those inputs and outputs, and that brain and those nerves aren't firing, we're cutting off our language from how it gets developed. Middle school, absolutely, they're ready. Some young people who are exposed because of their families or because of something happened in school and they've gone in that direction with their peers, they take off. It doesn't matter if it's music, building surfboards or skis, or they're messing around with technology all the time and getting skills that the schools don't even know. So when you start a middle school program and you bring the outside in and allow students to say, yeah, this is me, this is who I am, they're going to flourish in the programs that we have developed ready to go, the mobile classrooms that we have, mobile skill trades work in the summertime that we're developing, as well as the wood shops that we're developing to put inside of the schools, all that. So this is going to be real important. So now they feel good about themselves because the school is signaling they are important. That doesn't happen. The signal has been for a long time. You're less than.
Yep.
You're less than, and you're not. And we have to elevate that.
You brought up mobile shops, and one of the things that I don't think people, feel it's important to address is when communities are the furthest from the opportunities, and you had mentioned this, what are probably some of the biggest challenges and obstacles that we have to face for those communities, and how do we address those barriers, and what have you guys done in the past to address them?
Right. Well, what we've done is get young people as early as we possibly can connected to clubs, retirees, adults who are doing this work, and also clubs of peers, both in and outside of school. They want to spend time practicing what they want to get better at. And it does take practice, and it does take instruction, and it does take one-on-one saying, got to do it. This is how you do it. And that's real significant. So that's how we've done what we can do in a system that is so overregulated around the abstract and not the concrete. And a long time ago, we had, before World War I, we had a system where young people were going from concrete to abstract. They were working with wood and metal and clay and textiles. And those things and those patterns are mathematical, they're technical, they're precise. You make a mistake, you can see it, you twist it back this way or that way, you're manipulating it, but it's doing something throughout your whole body and your mind about how to do things at a quality level. And when you're missing that, and it's only coming out through your language, you may not really know what you're talking about. And you talk to a master carpenter or a journeyman, and you listen to them talk and the vocabulary that they use and the emotion that they have around how they do what they do. Amazing. And we don't honor that, and we don't promote it.
Yeah. The one thing I could say is, obviously we were fortunate enough to get this grant, but some of the stuff we were working on a much smaller scale, particularly at Barringer High School, when we incorporated exposure and summer youth employment and CARP programs, the success we've seen with those individuals that maybe in another school just would not have been successful or frowned upon or shied away, they're thriving, right? Not only did they graduate, they found a job opportunity, they're thriving in the construction industry, but it's because we laid the groundwork to make sure that they were going to be successful by the time they got here. And our employers were the ones, when they were graduating, were looking upon those kids to come back to the company. That doesn't happen in many industries. So we showcase that it works, and we know there's success stories there. It's just getting much more buy-in, I think, at a larger scale.
Right. That's that part about furthest from opportunity as well. Once people meet one another, and the students who don't have that opportunity in their families, they don't have the skill saws in their house or the tools. Once they meet those folks and they connect and they know that they want to learn from them, everything changes. And once you can provide an environment that says, well, there was a case early on when we were doing this program where I won't mention the student's name because, but we couldn't get him. He had a size 16 shoe and the steel toes only went up to 14. And they said, well, he can't be in the program. I mean, these are these regulations of school. So I went on Amazon on call. I got him a pair of shoes that was steel toe, size 16. Boom, done. So that's the kind of stuff that we need to make happen, not by chance, but by design.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do with this program.
And when there's a will, there's a way. I mean, imagine you giving up on the student because you didn't have a boot size that fit him. Like, well, you can't be part of the program. There's no shoes for you.
And he's thriving.
Yeah. Yep.
It's also the groups, and you could just tell, there's just genuine desire to help these young folks and to really connect in ways that allow them to thrive. The mentorship piece is everything. And everybody plays their own little piece and part in it. It's great to see it all come together, but it is a lot of work and a lot of communication and, creating that recipe, building that engine as you go. I mean, for you, you've been doing this forever, right? So you are the industry partner that we're really excited to connect with. But yeah, it's been a great opportunity to get to know you.
It's through, building the trust and the relationships and who can hold people at the table, like I said, and you all can.
And you got to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just, we're doing it to do it. I mean, we want to see success at the end of the day. Now, in your book, Leaving to Learn, you made a strong case for out-of-school learning. What evidence or experiences most convinced you that that approach works best? And how do you think this grant is going to support that?
So it is, schools for the last 50 years have been a, mechanized factory model that have not let students even get out of their seats. And so, some of the data shows that the restrictions on movement of a high school student are more restricted than a U.S. Marine Corps recruit or a person who's incarcerated. You can't even get out of your seat to go to the bathroom without permission. All right. So, and so the regulations just pile up. So there's no freedom of movement. And you can easily argue if there's no freedom of movement, there's no freedom of learning. You lose your agency if you're not allowed to move, and all these other pieces. Now you're in a situated learning environment where safety is taken care of. It's serious stuff. And all that is in place and in play. And you are learning from people either side by side or off to a distance or getting your hands on stuff when it's appropriate. And people think that you can handle things as you get older and older and older and more through the process. That's how we learn. So schools can't provide real, and young people are craving real. If young people and all of us crave a world that has a good amount of uncertainty in it, and when things are certain, what happens to young people? They get bored. They know the answer is in the back of the book. Just show me the answer. You hear this stuff. All of a sudden, you get on a job site. You got a problem. You got to figure it out. You're watching people go, and they're not like just going, willy-nilly.
Mm-hmm.
That if you watch people, they're thinking about it. They're playing with it. They're talking to each other. So young people are watching that happen and participating in it. Well, what do you think? These are the problems that really do come up. You just don't know, and, that happens in your home. Your faucet starts leaking. All of a sudden, everything goes, what do you do? Well, somebody got to shut it off. That's a problem. Well, they don't even know where the shutoff is in their home, right, anymore. Now they're really in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But those kinds of uncertainties are important. One of the best stories that I love from Frank is he was called into NASA. And they said, and there was a flight, some satellite station. Well, who's the most important person on the flight? And Frank says, the handyman on the plane. Why? Because something's going to break and you ain't getting home without the handyman.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is who we are. So those kinds of uncertainties we thrive on. We thrive, but you can't, if schools keep on tightening and tightening and tightening and everything is certain, it's not the right environment.
We talk about, and we've talked about it a number of times, how, and I think this goes back to schools and people frowning upon folks that learn with their mind and their hands. And at the end of the day, the reality is everywhere we go, every moment of the day, we're either traveling on something or in something or going somewhere that somebody worked with their hands to build, right? Like the roadways, the bridges, the airports, the planes, the trains. Like without any of those things, none of us can function in society. But those are the folks that we tend to look down on, right? Meanwhile, I can't get to go see my family. I can't get to work. I can't go on vacation. Somebody built that with their hands, right? It's probably one of the greatest economic drivers that we fail to appreciate because we take it for granted. But there's people behind that are actually building these things.
Right. And
I think that's where we really lost the value. And I think if people start to understand that, because we already know the people in the industry respect what they do, because we were talking about earlier, I built that. They take pride in it. But other people don't take pride in it for them. They take it for granted.
Right. Well, there's a lot to talk about there, but that's where the term maker's mark comes
Mm-hmm.
from.
Mm.
They put their maker's mark on something because they were proud of it. Their little signature or design. But in the world at large, people have big signatures on their stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not done as a community, as a group.
Mm-hmm.
You have medieval masons who couldn't read,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't write, and couldn't do the kind of abstract. Well, those buildings are still, those churches are still standing.
Yep.
And they're the most beautiful pieces of architecture that we have. How did they do that? Right. Well, they had a pretty high calling. It was spiritual as well as they were working, and they made these magnificent structures. Well, who are the authors? Who were those?
Mm-hmm.
But we all admire them. Same thing.
Oh, yeah. You don't even have to be a carpenter. I mean, everyone that sits in a church or a place of worship looks around and goes, wow, this is magnificent.
Right. And those people who built that, they know the sense of pride that they have around what they accomplished. And so it's internal, it's in their community, externally, and brotherhood, sisterhood, and it should be honored more by the general society.
Mm-hmm.
And our general society has forgotten some of that.
So thinking ahead, right? Educators, educational systems are a part of that, recipe of success. What does that look like? What can we do to prepare education to embrace this movement and continue as if we're reinventing the wheel? This is a problem that just keeps repeating itself. What can they do differently in the next, say, 10 years of opportunity looking ahead to restructure or rethink the way that they're performing their model?
Right. Well,
and connecting to young people.
Well, I think we're in a place now with what we're doing that has the attention of the educational community, and it also has the attention of the
big
industry,
business. Mm-hmm.
and it also has the attention of, the unions. This is important because everybody's gotten around this idea. And so either education is going to shift or it's going to stay in this abstract mode. And they may go out of business. And by going out of business, parents are walking their children with their feet. And they're going to find other ways of doing things. We are also finding ways to keep, the public in public education by creating programs like this, developing that. And that is the key. And if we don't do that, and if the system doesn't sign on and up to it, they have to pivot. They have to pivot to meaningful work. They have to pivot to the choices that young people are making and that parents are considering. And they have to develop programming around those choices. And some of it's been there, but it's been, now it's getting elevated. That's the hope. And I think that this is a great opportunity to go beyond the same kind of design and go beyond skilled trades into some of the other trades, as well as healthcare, all these other
huge needs in healthcare.
Right. Aviation all these places. And so that's going to make people have meaningful lives, do things that matter to them. And that's what's important.
In the years you've been doing this, is there one person, one student, one story that you think really showcases why we do this, why this is impactful, that resonates with you and the folks that are listening?
Oh, there's hundreds of stories around this. I mean, our story just of our student that I mentioned about the shoe size, he got work as a, apprentice carpenter. He's thriving. He's involved in his community. He got a car. He's helping his mom out. I mean, these are the stories that you want. And it's not he is the manifestation of a design and the embodiment of a design that can happen for thousands of young people. And really
And I'll add to that young man is actually coming back and becoming a mentor to some of the folks that are still in high school. And he's paying it forward already. So it's really incredible.
And that's he's involved in the education in the school district. And you can, once you allow these choices and these freedoms to happen with supports from the community, sky's the limit.
And I think, for that particular individual, the path he chose or the path that was laid out as an opportunity really probably changed the trajectory, because if he took a different path, he probably wouldn't be telling the same story right now. So it's folks like you guys and the school, thank God for embracing what we were trying to accomplish, and him being part of that model that really put him in a position to be successful and now give back to the next generation. So not only are we doing all this great work, we're also cultivating leaders that can hopefully change the institution and how we think. And then there's other people that, that also came into that program that have gone out to leadership training in Las Vegas, right? Or they're working on projects that they would have never thought to work on in their entire lives, like the Buffalo Bills Stadium.
Yeah, I was going to say
happens to be a Buffalo Bills fan.
Currently being built. Yeah.
It's probably not something he thought about, growing up. Like, well, I'm a Bills fan. Oh, one day I'm going to actually build the Bills Stadium.
Yep.
Not in a million years.
Right.
But because of this opportunity, it happened.
Yeah, no, there's so many stories I have about our students who got involved in the skilled trades. It's just like, but that's, one that's a Jersey story.
Yeah. Let's keep the stories coming.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really looking forward to working with you on a deeper level with this whole initiative. And, we appreciate you coming on and telling some of the story.
Oh, yeah, it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to have a second segment on this when we can really tell the story of all the success we've had, since this is a 3-year program, and there's probably going to be hundreds and hundreds of people that actually end up going through this. And I'm pretty confident the success is going to be really great because we've done it at such a small scale with a minimal investment because there was a will to do it.
Yeah.
So thank you for all the great work that you're doing, and thank you for being on.
And thank you all too. I mean, it goes all around. So
Yep.
it's great.
Pleasure,
Thank you.
Elliot.
Pleasure.